And there was 5 or 6 homeless children, like people that are on the streets in India, literally have nothing. There's no resources. There's no social services to help them out. They literally are just trying to find food. They're eating out of trash. And I'll never forget, because I looked out the window and I saw their faces and they were all incredibly happy. They were smiling. That was, in that moment, pure joy for them. And it was right there in that moment that I learned one of the most important lessons that I've ever learned in my life, and it has stayed with me since that age, and that is called All right, guys, it's Thursday, which means it's time for another episode of the LFG Energy Podcast. I'm excited to talk to you about this follow-up topic because I just got done hosting the Better Human Project here in San Francisco. This was the second year that we did it. And a few episodes ago, I recorded an episode for you guys. It was also another solo about the premise or the idea, or the question, I should say, of do better humans do better business, or is it the other way around? Now, at the event, if you were there, and if you were, it was really good to see you, and we will be doing it again next year. So stay tuned and watch for that announcement of the new date for 2027. But we were able to kind of prove over time and through all the speakers and everyone that came up on stage and shared things and a lot of the audience testimonials that better humans ultimately do plenty of good business. Sure, there's a lot of people that do good business, but if they aren't better humans, it will run short. At some point, that gas tank will basically empty out and you'll be left with just this person that's not that great of a human being. So yes, better humans absolutely do better business. But I wanted to give you guys today, on this episode, the formula or the framework for how I believe everybody can become a better human. And there's some things that we need to pay attention to. And most of this, guys, is just what I've learned over life and what I have also observed in incredible human beings, whether I knew them personally or they're people that I watched from afar and admired. So I want to share that framework with you guys today. And it's my hope that you will put this to work for you right away, starting today, right after this episode, because it is that easy. It's just a practice, it's a mentality, and it's a lens at which you can view the world through moving forward every day. So the first premise of being a better human actually goes back to a story that I learned when I was growing up and spending every summer in India. You see, we as children of Indian immigrants spent our entire summers going back to India, which was brutal because it was really, really hot. But this was how we connected with our culture, had a relationship with our grandparents, and got to meet our cousins, and really see an entirely different way of life, because India is very different from growing up in the United States. We would be back there over the summers. So there was a particular time, I might have been 8 or 9 years old, that we were back in India and we were traveling between my grandparents from my dad's side of the family to my mom's side. And they lived about 45, 50 minutes apart. So it would be this long drive, but you would see so much life. You'd see poverty, you'd see animals in the street, you'd see elephants on the side of the road, you'd see beautiful things, horrific things, all in that 50-minute drive. And there was a monsoon that was happening, or this very, very heavy rainstorm. And it would happen during those July and August months out of every summer. And there was a car that was going the opposite way that had basically failed in these like floods or, in these heavy rains. And there was 5 or 6 homeless children basically living on the streets. And living on the streets in India is very different from living on the streets in the United States. If you've been to India or you've been to any third world country, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, they're not even the same thing. Someone living on the streets in the United States, while I'm not saying that they have it necessarily any easier, it's very, very different. Like people that are on the streets in India literally have nothing. There's no resources. There's no social services to help them out. There's definitely no free money for drugs or to go out and buy things or get a free cell phone. Like they literally are just trying to find food. They're eating out of trash. Like it's bad, really bad. So there were 5 or 6 of these children that were pushing this car through the rain. And I'll never forget, because I looked out the window and I saw their faces and they were all incredibly happy. They were smiling. That was, in that moment, pure joy for them, because they were in the rain, not a care in the world, and they were helping push this car. The driver of the car was yelling at them, probably nothing nice, because he was either impatient that they weren't moving fast enough or whatever. But these kids couldn't be bothered. And it was right there in that moment that I learned one of the most important lessons that I've ever learned in my life, and it has stayed with me since that age, and that is called the absence of jealousy. I learned exactly what it meant to have no jealousy in that moment, because here I am, a kid that's been growing up in the United States, and I think to be happy, you've got friends, you've got shelter, you live in a nice home, you go to a nice school, you've got toys to play with, you've got siblings, you've got your health. And that makes for a nice childhood. And meanwhile, I'm looking at these children who have nothing of what I have and live in the complete opposite context or space than what I was growing up in. And yet I saw nothing but joy and happiness on their face. There was no jealousy. And the reality is, most people that are on the streets, that are living in poverty in India, they're not jealous of those that have. They're just in survival mode. And for a lot of them that live in slums, they find happiness in the day-to-day life. And I think that's something we can all take from, because the happiest people in life, guys, are the ones who are going through it, noticing. They're not expecting anything else. And this absence of jealousy is something that I think is really important for us in a world that we live in, where social media is constantly showing you what you are not. It's constantly putting in front of you all of your inadequacies, that you're not pretty enough, you're not sexy enough, you're not wealthy enough, you don't have as much time as other people have, you aren't doing enough, you're not hustling enough, you're not working hard enough. Like all these things, it's always what you are not. So it's very easy to become a jealous person, or to become an envious person, or to start comparing yourself to others. And as the saying goes, comparison is the thief of joy. And unfortunately, we can't escape it now because, like I said, it's everywhere. So this absence of jealousy lesson that I learned as a kid while observing it in children that you would ordinarily think are jealous of what I have, but quite honestly are not. They're just happy with what they have, is a beautiful lesson for all of us. And I'm not saying don't strive for more, don't want more out of life, guys. But if you notice what's going on right here in your life, in this moment, right in front of you, and be present, as so many people say, everything's actually okay. We only get anxious about the future because it hasn't happened yet and we're assuming the worst. And we only get depressed and angry about the past because there's regret or guilt that's attached to it. But if we stay right here in the present, the way those children were when I saw them on the side of the road there in India, that was happiness. That is the absence of jealousy. Nobody out there, guys, in this world of comparison that we live in should be comparing your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20. And that's, kind of a cliche phrase, and a lot of influencers say it online, but it is really true. A lot of us think, well, I'm not as far along as I should be. Well, this is your chapter 1. You're comparing yourself to somebody's chapter 15, chapter 20, chapter 30. They've been paying all their dues. They've gone through the struggles that you've gone through. They just endured for longer, and now they're in a totally different place. So if I can urge everyone here, and it's an ongoing battle, guys, it's not anything that happens overnight, but try and get familiar with that concept and maybe even attach your own meaning or translation to it of the absence of jealousy. Maybe there's something in your life or a story or something that happened during your upbringing. Maybe it's happening right now in your adult life that you could compare this to, but I really want you to hone in on that, because the less jealous we can be, the better humans we will ultimately be. And I think that's really, really important. So that is the first component in this pathway to being a better human. And it leads into the second one, because if you are not a jealous person, if you are not an envious person, if you are not one who is constantly comparing and focused on what you don't have rather than what you do have, you ultimately are going to be a better friend. And the world is in dire need of this. We have a massive deficit when it comes to good friends, good humans that are out there, being a good friend, not only to others, but more importantly to ourselves. And I want to give you an example of the type of friend that you need to recognize that if you have this person in your life, you had better not let them go. You had better do everything to make sure that they remain in your life, that you remain friends with them, and more importantly, that you are doing the same thing back. And here's what I mean by this type of friend. You might know of someone, and maybe you're fortunate and you know of multiple people that can be happy for others, can clap for others, are there to praise others, and be happy for their accomplishments, celebrate with them when inside they're not doing so well, or they are losing, or things have not been going well for them at all. Most people cannot be happy for others unless they themselves are happy. And right there's already something wrong with that equation, even if you hear it, because it's basically saying that you can only be happy for others upon condition, the condition that everything is going well for you, or that things are good in your life. Well, it's not about that. It's never about you. You have to be always in service to others, to be thinking about others. I'm not saying you ignore what's going on in your life, but you have to be thinking about other people. So if you have a friend that's like that, and I can tell you guys, I'm a very blessed person who has a lot of friends. I've got a lot of good friends, but I can count on 2 hands and 2 hands only the amount of friends that I have that I know are always happy for me, or when things are going well, even when they may not be that great for them. So if you have somebody like that in your life, and many people are lucky if they just have one, but if you don't have any, this is the kind of friend that you want to seek and make sure that you protect and covet in your life. But more importantly, guys, be that friend. Become that person. You'll do it through the absence of jealousy and other lessons in life and other character or identity that you want to build in yourself. But if you can be someone who's ultimately happy for others all the time, even when things are not so great in your life, you'll attract others who are the same, and that's going to be a very powerful and palpable force in your life, or when it comes to actual influence and the people that you want to be closest to. One other bonus thing that I want to leave you guys with when it comes to being a better human. We talked about the absence of jealousy. We talked about how to be a better friend. For your own compass and how you be a better human, everyone that came to our event, and if you're watching this episode on YouTube, and if you're not, I encourage you to do it because there's generally visual aids, and I'm about to show you something that you're not going to be able to see if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple. So do check us out, the LFG Energy Podcast on YouTube. But everyone who was at our event had this name badge, and the last section on this name badge says one word, because I wanted everyone to identify while they were at the event and write it in what their one word is. And what I meant by the one word was the one word that they want to be remembered by when they pass away, when everyone is at their funeral, the one word that you want to kind of be pretty consistent amongst all of the guests of your funeral or your service or your cremation, whatever it might be, whatever you believe in when life ends and how you're going to be celebrated or mourned, that everyone says, when I think of this guy, I'll remember him by this word, or that lady. And whatever that word is, that's your one word. And what you need to do is commit to that one word and know that that is what is ultimately going to make you a better human. And every day, just move towards it, even if it's a small micro step. Now, you're going to have bad days where maybe you fall off or maybe you go backwards. Maybe it's a bad week. Maybe it's a bad month. It's okay. That's what being a better human is. It's a constant work in progress. The work is never done. But just keep moving towards it. And however much time you have left on this earth, guys, whether it's a short period of time, hopefully it's a very long period of time, if you're doing those incremental steps towards that one word, I promise you, when you get to the end, you will be a better human. So again, guys, in summary, become a better human by acknowledging that there needs to be an absence of jealousy in your life. And being a less jealous person, or eventually someone who's not jealous or envious at all, is ultimately going to make you a better friend to others. And if you have friends that are like that, that mirror these same qualities, make sure you take care of them, make sure you keep them in your life forever, because these people are absolute treasures. Don't seek out instant gratification, guys. Let go of all that jealousy, let go of that envy. Like I said, it's an ongoing practice. It's not something that happens overnight. Strive to become a better friend in the way of always being happy for others, even when it's not so great for you. Clap for others, even when you didn't win. Cheer on others when they're making bigger strides than maybe you are, because you're on a different pathway. Again, somebody else's chapter 20 is not your chapter 1, or vice versa. I hope you guys got a lot out of this episode, and it's something that you can put to work today, which is my hope. If you like this episode, please make sure that you take a screenshot of it, share it on social media, tag me in it so that I know to bring you more content and more episodes like this on the LFG Energy Podcast. And if it was really helpful to you, please share this episode with someone that you know would benefit, because that is my hope, is to create episodes and talks like this that are going to help impact humans and make us all better humans at the end of the day. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you next week on the LFG Energy Podcast.